Welcome. These sessions will be recorded. I'm pleased you could join us for the Business Education and Resilience webinars with 1917. My name is Pauline Marquardt. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, which is made up of members with common interests and concerns related to the business environment in the Bowie area. It is the primary professional trade organization in the Greater Bowie area dedicated to protection, enhancement, and success of Bowie businesses and the assistance to help Bowie businesses accelerate their post-pandemic economic recovery. This program is a collaboration between the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce and the Bowie Business Innovation Center Accelerator funded by the City of Bowie. During this webinar, it's best to be comfortable with your video on. Remember to mute yourself and ask questions through the chat unless otherwise directed. Welcome, William Eric Lindsay, Senior Business Counselor of 1917. Glad you could make it here with us this evening.
Hey, Pauline, how you doing? Hey, Sharon. Hey, Monique. Got to see you guys back again. Good to have you back. Just want to say, good to see you. We had a 3-week layoff or 4-week layoff in between the last section and this new section. So it's great to be back to finalize the second section of the Business Resiliency webinar series. So what I will do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can continue with the PowerPoint slides. How's that sound? So, as Pauline mentioned, my name is William Eric Lindsay. I'm a business coach and accredited small business consultant. I own the company called 1917. That is my email and contact information. So if you need to reach out, please don't hesitate. Go ahead and reach out with any of your questions that we have. So as usual, I want to say thank you to Pauline and Terry. Pauline's the Executive Director for the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, and Terry is the President of the Board of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. I just want to say thank you to both of you for selecting, myself, my company, and the team that I put together to present the different topics over the next 12 weeks. So we're going to be here for 12 weeks with this. So I'm very excited to have my team members here who are going to present on a variety of different topics, all business development and in different areas. So I'm pretty excited about doing this. So I just want to say thank you to Pauline and Terry for taking us through this process. As Pauline mentioned, this is a business education and resilience webinar series. We completed section 1, started in January and we ended in March. It was a great series, I think. We got some great feedback from everyone. That was a 12-part webinar series. And we are now in section 2. This is webinar 1 of section 2. So we're going to have 12 more great webinars coming up. So we're going to be talking about, again, operational management of your business. We're going to be we're going to have an update on PPP and EIDL. We're going to have some folks who are talking about life insurance and exit strategies and all these topics that are relative to your business. And again, not just your business, but your personal life, how you can translate that into your business and personal life. And then the really cool part is on July 15th, we're going to have a pitch competition. We're going to have a lot of folks who were on these webinars, who were guests on these webinars, who were listening in. We're definitely going to want you to sign up for a pitch your business competition. And I think in the last webinar in March, we talked about what that wonderful prize was. It's actually going to be a cash prize. So I can't tell you what that cash prize amount is. You just have to work really hard for it and cross your fingers and do a really good job in your pitch competition and present your pitch on July 15th. The cool thing is the very last webinar, webinar number 12, I actually teach a little mini course on how to pitch your business and what we're looking for as judges for pitching your business. If you missed the last one, we have another one coming up towards the end. So you definitely want to be here, not towards the end, but you definitely want to be here for all the webinars, at least take some tips with you for your business and your life. So with that, I do have a webinar pitch for you. So everyone who's here, if you know anyone who's not here, if you know someone who should be here, just go ahead and share this information with them and have them sign up and have them return for all of the webinars, because everyone has something to share. We all have something to learn, and we all look forward to that. So today, as webinar 1 of section 2, we're going to do a little bit of a recap. Again, this is about goal setting. So again, as I talked about, each webinar builds upon the other. So as we move through in this section, we definitely want to kind of reach back a little bit and talk about goal setting. I'm going to recap and talk about how to kind of establish your goals. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to monetize your goals. And what I like to talk about, we always hear about this work-life balance. Well, I don't like that concept, because work-life balance, it makes us seem as if we're two different people. We're actually one person. When you woke up in the morning, you only saw one person. I don't think you saw the work part. And then when you got home, you saw the life part. You saw the same person. So we're going to figure out some ways how to sort of what I call harmonize those goals. It's about that harmonization of those different hats that we wear. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the next steps. So as a recap, I want to spend some time in these 4 areas. So SMART goals, we definitely want to have SMART, SMART goals. I add the extra R in there because you're one of the things that we don't do is we don't repeat our goals, and the extra R is called repeatable. So we certainly want to have our goals that are SMART, they're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. But in my opinion, they should also be repeatable. If you can achieve your goal once, you can repeat your goal and the goal process and then do it again. Not the same goal, but the next iteration of that goal. So the R for me means repeatable. And there are many ways of just establishing your SMART goals. Obviously, you want to write them down because, you have a dream and then that dream stays in your head. It's not a goal until you write it down. So you move through that process. One of the other things that we talked about as well is actually harmonizing our goals. So we want to be sure that our goals, which are business goals, because this is a business resiliency webinar post-pandemic, where we're still in the pandemic, but things are starting to open up. You definitely want to reassess how you approach your goals and how you approach your life. Now, when I say harmonize, like I mentioned earlier, you always talk about this work and life balance. Again, you're the same person. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're an uncle, you're an aunt. You're a whole bunch of different things to a whole bunch of different people. But you're just that one person. So how do we harmonize? How do we have a symphony? We have music happening. So how do we make sure that, our bass side is working in harmony with our trumpet side, and our strings are working together? And that's the same way we want to look at our lives, is how do all these things kind of fit in with each other? So we certainly want to find a way to make the music play in a way that works for us. So we talk about harmonizing our goals. And the way we do that is just literally looking at our schedule, prioritizing our goals, writing them down, prioritizing our goals, and actually putting them on our calendar. That's how we harmonize our goals. For example, if we have a goal of going on vacation next year for 2 weeks, well, where is that going to be? Are we going to drive? Or how are we going to get there? Are we going to drive? Are we going to fly? Are we going to take a boat? We're going to hitchhike. We're going to go camping, whatever. And then you try to find out who's going to go with you. You plan that out as much as possible. And once you do that, you certainly want to be sure that you plan ahead. And the next step in doing that is monetizing your goals. You certainly want to monetize what those goals look like. So we go back to the vacation example. You certainly want to say, well, how much is this trip going to cost, right? If you want your kids to go to school, like pay for college or university or whatever, trade school, certification after high school, things like that, then how much is that going to cost? You monetize that goal. Okay, you put a price on it. That's what I mean. Do some research and put a general price on it. And then you work towards those goals. You work towards how do we earn the money to make the goal become reality, that you can fund it. Now, again, remember that this is sort of like in your business. So then how do you create a business that will fund your goals and monetize those goals? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. And then one of the things that's very important in establishing goals is an accountability system. For example, here's an accountability system that works sometimes. It's, who are you going to tell your goals to? Who are you going to share that goal with? For example, one of the first goals that Terry talked about was increasing the chamber membership by 5% by a certain time of this year. I think it was August of this year. So he just turned all of us into an accountability system, where now it's, okay, Terry, you just shared that goal with us, 5% increase, great. So how do we work with you to make sure that you stay on track to have that 5% increase in the chamber membership? So who are the people that you're going to share your goal with, that are going to keep you accountable? One of the examples I've used before is, if you ever tell your kids who are young, let's say you have young kids, let's say 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, if you tell them, hey, we're going to the beach, or we're going to do something fun, 5 minutes later, they're going to hold you accountable. Hey, when are we going to the beach? You said, I just told you that. 5 minutes later, they're going to say, they become your best accountability system, So you're looking for someone who's going to keep you on track and who's going to help you and work with you. Part of your core team, I would say, in your life, who will push you and who will guide you and who will say, hey, you remember when you said a year ago you would quit your job when you start your business? Where are we with that? How's that going?
Mm-hmm.
That's your accountability system. So you have any questions on that so far? Are we good?
If you can just repeat again, I'm sorry, the A and the
small. Oh, sure. From the SMART? Yeah, sure. So S is specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, and T is time sensitive.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. So when you look at the A, Sharon, when you say for the A, something that's achievable, it's something that will push you. It's something that will kind of stretch you a little bit. So you definitely want to think of it in those terms. And then the R, which is realistic, for example, well, I want to build a highway between my house and the planet and the moon. Okay, well, that might be a goal, but is it realistic? So you certainly want to think of it in those terms. Let's see. So we talked about harmonizing, we talked about monetizing, we talked about accountability. So let's move on. If anyone has any questions on this or even a comment to add, feel free to jump in. So that was actually a really brief recap of what we talked about earlier this year in January about goal setting. This particular webinar, I really want to take it to another place. I want to take it a little bit further. And I want to talk about tracking our goals. So the next step is, once we have all these goals planned, we have it all written out, we have it all shared with someone, we've harmonized our goals, we've harmonized what we're doing. We talk about the destination, for example. We talk about the end result, which is our goal. How do we actually track our goals? What are we doing to make sure that we are on track beyond the accountability? So remember we talked about harmonizing the goals? Well, in reality, what I would like to kind of talk about is, I want you to think of it in these terms. Think of it as, yes, you have a business life, you have a personal life, you have different hats, but I want to talk about your well-being goals and then your business goals, right? When I say well-being, what do you think of? Anyone can answer. What do you think of when I say well-being? Your well-being goals.
Social, emotional, physical.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then social goals, spiritual, intellectual. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Anything else that it means to someone else? Cool. So that's exactly right, Monique. The well-being goals is really about you. It's about your social goals, your spiritual goals, your health goals, for example, things like that. And then you want to harmonize your business goals at the same time. You want to make sure that, because again, a healthy business is really about having a healthy business owner. You know, it's just like having a family. If you're a head of the household, you definitely want to be healthy head of the household, because there's a lot that you have to deal with. So you certainly want to be sure that you have your well-being goals set out as well, not just your business goals, but your well-being goals, your personal goals. What are things that we do to make sure that you and I are healthy in what we do on our day-to-day basis? So we certainly want to have a grasp on that. And that ties into our business goals, because in order to achieve our business goals, we have to have we have to be well. We have to have a healthy stand, I would say, or a healthy stance in moving forward. And that's what we're talking about here. So we want to create sort of two systems, I would say, for our business goals and our well-being goals. Now, our business goals, in terms of creating a system for our business goals, I think, in my opinion, those are pretty easy to create, I would say. Because what happens in your business goals and sort of creating a system to track our business goals, those are basically our key performance indicators. Now, our basic key performance indicators for any business, I would say, would be, how many customers do you have? It's a basic key performance indicator, right? What's your revenue? How much money are you bringing in? You know, what's your gross profit margin? How much money are you actually keeping? What's your net profit? What's your real net profit? How much money are you putting away in your bank account, your business bank account? So those are some of the real rudimentary basic stuff that we can start to measure. Now, every business is going to have additional things like merchandise, business goals. How much merchandise do you want to sell per year? If you're in the service industry and you're a form of consultant or coach, you certainly have different KPIs. Like, what is your marketing reach, for example? What is your customer acquisition cost, for example? How many network meetings do you go to? Business goals, things that relate to improving your business. How many clients do you have? What's your average dollar sale per client or per product that you have? How many projects do you need per year? Business goals. Those are relatively statistically easy to derive. And if we have QuickBooks, we can actually pull some of that data out of our QuickBooks. We can create some of those key performance indicators directly from our QuickBooks software that I hope everyone's using on some level to manage your business financially, looking at your numbers. And then one of the business goals that we talked about in the previous section, that we're going to get into more details in another webinar down the road, is your exit strategy. That's what are your goals there? So your goals could be numerical, right? They could be quantitative, right? Numerical goals, but it's also could be qualitative. Like, when will you exit your business? What is your goal for that? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? Is it a number? What's your trigger point for saying, I have to make that decision to leave my business? And what does leave mean? And we'll talk about that in an upcoming webinar. So those are things that you definitely want to measure. Well-being goals, as Monique mentioned, are more us. It's more personal, very individual. What's our health status? What's our intellectual goals? Things like that. So we're gonna kind of look into that a little bit. So I really want to talk about systems to track these goals. So with that, some of your next steps in creating that system, you look at your tracking themes, right? Two things I normally look at is determine what you're tracking and why. Now, these are more focused on your well-being goals, not your business goals, but your well-being goals. Are you tracking routines or are you tracking specific personal challenges? So you certainly want to keep in mind why you're tracking these things. Certain things as well-being is in terms of improvement, like exercise. All of us exercise every day, I'm sure. We all do every day, twice a day sometimes. So that might be routine, but you may want to track that because then that sort of gives you a determination from a quantitative perspective, like how well are you doing there? Are you actually exercising every day? And that kind of creates a self-accountability monitoring system as well, which we definitely use. I certainly use it. Or are we tracking specific challenges to ourselves? Like, for example, how many books do we read in a month? Or how many new books do we read in a month? Okay. How many educational movies do we watch? You know, those are specific. Here's another specific challenge. Are you going to learn a new language? Where are we on learning a new language for 15, 30 minutes a day? So those are specific personal challenges that you can actually create. Once you start looking at these things and start realizing that, okay, well, you know, do we exercise every day? Some of us do, some of us don't. So you want to determine when you're going to track your goals. Is it a daily thing? You know, do you learn a language? Do you study your language daily? Then that becomes a daily goal. But if you do it, let's say 3 times a week, I would probably shift that to more of a weekly goal. Okay, because it makes sense, because a daily goal is what you do every day. If you push yourself to learn that language for 30 minutes a day, then guess what? It becomes a daily goal and you track that. Now, if you're only exercising 3 or 4 times a week, I would look at that as a weekly goal. So your weekly goal would be to exercise 3, 4 times a week, twice a week, once a week, whatever you feel like doing. And then an example of a monthly goal would be, let's say, your monthly goal would be maybe doing a marathon once a month, or jogging a total of 10 miles per month, for example. That might be an idea of a monthly goal. You may not do it every day or every week, but your monthly goal might be to achieve that number on a monthly basis. So you definitely want to track those things. And then quarterly, an example of a quarterly goal, and I'm smiling because I love this one, is taking a weekend off. A quarterly is every 90 days. So this is your well-being. Remember, these are your well-being goals. So what are you doing to reset your goals, to reset your life? 90 days is like a marathon for a lot of us in business. So quarterly, do you take an entire Friday to Monday off and just disconnect and do nothing? Hide the phone, get off the internet. And as a business owner, that's so counterintuitive, because you're like, well, I got to get clients and well, this is about your well-being. So are you going to take that weekend off? And that's a quarterly goal. And then your yearly goal might be, well, where am I going for a vacation? Where am I taking the family on vacation for 10 to 12 days? Things like that. So those are your yearly goals. And we're not going to put taxes in there, because you got to pay taxes every year or every quarter, depends on what kind of business you're in. But taxes don't count. They'll come after you, whether you remember, whether you forget or not, they'll still come after you. So there's your IRS is your accountability partner on that one. But your yearly goal is so important, because what is the one thing you would do once a year? Even if it's your birthday, are you going to take that 10 days off once a year? Again, this is about your well-being. Even going to your doctor to get your yearly medical checkup. That's actually a yearly goal. It's a well-being goal. So you certainly want to start talking about those things and start documenting those things. And again, this isn't about your business goals. Your business goals actually follow this process. So when we talk about harmonizing, you certainly want to make sure that your business goals will map out and sort of overlap your well-being goals, your personal goals, taking care of ourselves in that sense. And you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with business? And again, I always say this: a healthy business owner creates a healthy business. This is why it's so important. This is why I tie in these topics together. So now that we've determined what you're tracking and your why, we've determined when you're going to track these goals, like what's relative and pertinent to each topic that you're tracking. I want to show you a tool. So first of all, you can go just to get ideas on tools. You can actually go to DuckDuckGo or any of your favorite search engines on the web and just do a personal goal tracking tools. You will find hundreds of them, maybe thousands of different tools that are either on your iPhone, it's an app, or it's a spreadsheet, or it's most of them are apps, by the way, today, because today's world, most people carry their phones around them, so they just have an app. But there are just so many tools out there. You just have to assess what works for you. You have to assess what, number one, is it user friendly? Is it easy to sort of input your data? And is it malleable enough so that you can actually put in your goals into that particular app? Some of them are free. Some of them are you have to pay, which is fine. I think it's like maybe, a couple of bucks a month. Maybe some of them are more than that. But it all depends on the complexity and what you're looking for. So you certainly want to understand your needs around that particular app. Also, you want to understand the ways of measuring. How does it measure your statistics? How does it measure your goals? So I want to talk a little bit about, I want to show you one example that I use. I don't make things complicated. I just try to make it real simple. So I just created a very simple Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to ask Pauline, can you see this Excel spreadsheet? No? Okay. So I'm going to share the Excel spreadsheet. Now can you see it? All right, cool. So this is a very simple, basic Excel spreadsheet. So what I did, I took myself through all of those questions. I said, I decided personally that I really don't need an app. I decided just to do this on my own. And I just created this very simple Excel spreadsheet. And anyone can do it, to be honest with you. But here's what I did. So what I did was I just created a simple Excel spreadsheet and I put, these are my daily goals, right? I broke it down to weekly goals, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. So for example, I put in here daily, let's say, and this is actually one of them, drink a gallon of H2O. That's actually one of my goals, is to every day I should be drinking a gallon of water. It's one of my well-being goals, right? So I no longer have a question mark there. I can delete that. And then it'll be the day of the week. Today is Thursday. And then today is 4/15/2021, right? That's really simple. You can put the date. So what I do is, we have a question, Pauline?
It's a comment that they use a planner and a link for us.
Nice, Monique. Great job. Great job. So this can be very, very complex. But what I do, and I can fill this out if you guys want me to, but just to give you an idea of the metrics, what I do is I actually start measuring. So over here, you see what's called percent complete, right? So this has, this goes from, let's say, from Thursday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from Thursday to Wednesday. All right, so we'll end it on 7 days. Hopefully that's right. If not, call me out. So what I do is, let's say today, did I drink my gallon of water? Now, I do not give myself a point for drinking half a gallon. There's no almost points. It's either I do it or I don't. It's quite binary. It's either on or off, yes or no. So if I drink 0.99999% or 99.999% of a gallon, I put a 0 because I didn't hit my goal. But if I do drink, and when I do drink my gallon, which I'm like probably 3 bottles of water, I'm just looking at my bottles of water, 3 bottles of water away from it, I give myself a 1. And that says success. So if you see here, for the entire week, for this particular section, I'm at 5% of my goals. Okay, so what I'll do, I think I'm just gonna move this over here. That's what I'll do. Oops, I'll just do this. So drink a gallon of water. I'll put that there. And then here, let's say exercise. And then here, I'll just put reading, which is the intellectual part. So did I exercise this morning? Yes, I did. 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. And did I read today? Yes, I did. So as you can see, my percentage goes up. So for this particular blue section, which is my daily goals, I'm 14% complete. And there's a very, you would have to look at your formulas, but what I do is a very simple formula. It's just, before I get to the formula, let's just keep tracking. So let's just say I exercised, I drank my water, I did my reading. Let's say I woke up that morning, didn't feel well, I didn't exercise. Nope, didn't drink my gallon. I was 1 bottle off, but I did do my reading. But then I picked up my exercise, got my gallon, I read, and then exercise, did drink my gallon. I always read every day, so I know that. But then I missed my exercise, missed my gallon, but I read. And then on Wednesday, picked up my exercise, didn't drink my gallon, but I read. So what does that tell me? So for all of my daily goals, I hit 5 out of 7, 4 out of 7, and 7 out of 7. But collectively, I hit 76% of my daily goals. Is that good or bad? Doesn't matter. You can actually just scale that and say what's good for you and what's bad for you. Doesn't matter. That tells me, wow, 76%. Well, that's not bad. That's not really bad. Am I going for perfection? That's up to you. But these are your goals. And what happens is you can go back and say, well, what really happened? Oh yeah, that's right. On that day, I wasn't feeling well. So you want to be realistic with your goals. You don't want to beat yourself up. So this is one way I do it. And my daily goals are pretty long. So my weekly goals, for example, are the same. Not the same, but in the same context. So what I do, I actually do, one of my daily goals actually is planning. So every day before I go to bed, I plan my tomorrow. So I plan my daily goal for tomorrow. And that's how I get ahead of my week. So my weekly goal is something I don't do every day. So what is something that you guys do on a weekly basis that's not done every day? We can just play with it here. Ha, got you thinking now, huh?
Wait, I'm sorry. You said, what are some of the things that we do weekly?
As a weekly goal, what is something that you would do here?
Pertaining to health.
Yeah, with your well-being.
Oh, okay. I guess drink water.
There you go. So you don't drink water every day?
Well, I guess when you say weekly, yes, I do drink it every day. So yeah,
Okay.
So I guess I have to think a little bit more about the weekly goals.
Yeah. Do you exercise every day? Just asking a question.
No, not
Right.
now. I
Right.
used to.
Yeah. So these are things that you don't do every day, but these are things that you do on a weekly basis consistently. So if you exercise, let's just say you exercise and then you don't exercise every day. So that's a weekly goal. So you look at it like, okay, well, I just exercise 3 days a week, and exercise could mean something that you strive yourself to be. Even if you took a walk around your neighborhood, that's exercise. It is what it is. So if you do that, let's say, let's just call it, you can call it exercise. Let's see if some people do it that way. Let's say, it's again, it's 1 or 0. So that's 1, and then that's 1. So for that week, you're pretty close to doing things once a week. So let's just do it that way. And again, we can change the formula in here. See? So things that you do on a weekly basis, you would place in here. So for yearly, I would go down here, hit vacation. You do a yearly vacation with family. You see? And it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It just, you just have to list it and it'll come. So it could be December, it could be November, it could be the summer, but you definitely want to be sure that when you look at this from a yearly perspective, that you actually made that happen. Quarterly, we talked about, let's say, doctor visit, or not quarterly. Yeah, sometimes you can actually go visit your doctor quarterly, and this might be a yearly checkup, for example. And for weekly, we can actually say, learn a language. Or if you're into music, you can say learn an instrument. Okay. So, and you can expand this. You can always, it's Excel. So you can just add more rows and columns and then go back and change your formula and go from there. So the idea behind this is sort of like a self-accountability. We talk about our goals, but then our well-being goals and our business goals, but then you have to go back and measure what's going on. Okay, you have to be, it's sort of a self-accountability. Sometimes you may even share this spreadsheet with a friend of yours that you guys, both you and your buddy, can actually track and help each other out. Not just in your business goals, but also your personal well-being goals. And these are things that you build your community with. So when you think of your goals and you think of your accountability, think of it as building your community, the people that are very, very close to you that will drive you and help you push each other. Metal sharpens, iron sharpens iron, that Bible verse, iron sharpens iron. So you definitely want to find those people that will help you can sharpen, and they're willing to help sharpen you. And that's a really good, great core set of individuals you can have. And this is just a simple tool that anyone can use. And Sharon just shared that with us, or was it Monique? Monique or Sharon shared that with us in the chat about the Amazon link. It's a planner from Monique. So these are things that you can actually do, very, very simple things. Now, can this be complicated? We can make this as complex as you like. And you can actually get an app for that. There's so many tools for personal well-being trackers and things like that. I've actually seen some for a couple $1,000s that really go into a lot of data collection and a lot of different things. Health collection, for example. I have friends and family who are diabetic, and sometimes every day they have to track their blood glucose level, first thing in the morning, sometimes during the day. And those become daily goals. Did you check your BG today? It's a well-being goal. You check it in there. So any questions so far on this, or any comments on this? All right, cool.
Can we get a link for that?
Sure. This is actually, if you email me, I can send you the spreadsheet. I actually made up this spreadsheet because it was a lot easier to do it this way. So I can definitely send you this. If you just go ahead and email me. You'll have my email shortly, because I actually use this spreadsheet for my personal goals. It's a lot bigger. It's actually a couple pages long, but the idea is just to track it. Just to kind of say, okay, am I being honest with myself? And this is just one way of sharing that. For example, like language, I don't do it daily. I actually do it weekly. Sometimes I'm in the process of learning Portuguese, because when I was a kid, my mom used to speak Portuguese. My parents used to speak Portuguese in the house when we were kids. I always had a flavor and love for different languages, Spanish, Dutch, French, of course, English and Papiamento were things that we spoke in the house. And I just miss that. I miss that language, because being in the States, we normally speak English in the household. But then, relearning that language, it was just a love. So I was like, that's kind of like an intellectual goal or a cultural goal. So I do that weekly, like 3 or 4 times a week, where I just sit and I just take 30 minutes and just relearn Portuguese, for example. So those are things that you definitely want to just keep track, because part of it is intellectual, part of it is spiritual, and definitely health. So that all encompasses your well-being. A musical instrument, is there a musical instrument that you enjoy playing, that you enjoy experiencing? or just want to learn, you know? And these are things that you want to track. Are you on track with your goals? Things that you can also add your goals because people change. You may want to say, okay, I've learned this. What's my next goal for learning this? But yeah, that's how we put this together. We have a question, Pauline. Yep, there's my email. Thank you, Pauline. I appreciate you. Yep. So yeah, you can email me. I can email me and I'll email this spreadsheet to you. The only thing I would say is we would have to look at your formulas and how you track your formulas, because that would give you the percentage. So for example, if I just changed all of this, you can see the percentage actually starts to go up. Right. There's a very quick formula in here. So what I do here is I just tally all this. It's a week, so it's 7 days. And then the sum of these is 21. So I just normalize that particular formula by 21 to get the percentage. Here, it's the same thing. I just did it simply as 3 because I look at it as once a week. So if I did languages once a week, I did that once a week, I'm at 100%. So this just tracks your week. So if you do this twice a week, if you do certain things twice a week, like exercise 3 times a week, then this particular, the denominator here, that would change. So that would be the only change that you would look at here, because that would normalize your data entry here for this particular gray set of cells here. So you definitely want to know when you do this and how you get it done. So there's a little bit of manipulation work in there, but it teaches us Excel. And it also helps us with tracking our goals. And then our monthly goals is the same thing. It's just, do we do things monthly? Now, what I normally do is it's a monthly goal. I may not be doing it this week. Just remember that. It's a yearly goal, but it may not happen for this week, because remember, it starts off with daily. So this might be 0, but that's okay, because that's just not part of that. This is not when you're taking that vacation. Right? This is just a way of tracking, you know, and you can always cut and paste this and put this on a different page. And you can expand these goals as much as possible. And that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. So cool. Monique, when you email me, I definitely share this with you. Not a problem. Thank you. So let's go back to the last slide here. So yeah, those, again, it's just a quick idea for how you measure tools, and whatever app that you use, you want to be sure that it tracks with how you want things measured, which is probably the biggest thing I want to really have you take away from this conversation. So with that, are there any questions or comments or anything that you would like for me to cover in what we talked about today?
So I guess one thing I have a challenge with is I tend to track different ways, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know it drives me crazy sometimes, and just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
For example?
So I'll have a 1-pager for my goals, and I'll have a spreadsheet, which I haven't used. I stopped using for my tracking daily activity. And then I have my whiteboard. So, I was just curious and that's one of the things actually is interesting that you're talking about this and tracking, because that was, that's one of the things I said I want to work on is, okay, should I track a little different than what I've been doing? I like to use computer and technology, but I was wondering, should I go back to the old school way of using a planner and writing it down? And so just wanted to know if folks out there tend to use different tools to track different things.
Well, you want to track what's important for you, and you want to execute those things that are important for you. So when you set up the things that you're tracking, your activities, you want to be sure that they're important to you, that they're important for you to track, and how you assess that. If you're tracking things and then you stop, are you stopping because you're not doing those things anymore, or are you stopping because the tracking system got too complex or it's not working for you? So you want to
Mhm.
you want to address that. If that's the challenge, then you want to address those things as well. You want to, again, SMART goals. You want to be realistic in what you're doing, and you want to have those stretch goals. So
Yes.
so yes, what I showed you there was a spreadsheet that I looked at different apps, and there's some really great apps out there, but I wanted personally to keep things simple. So you really want to find what works for you. That's not going to be burdensome for you. But you also want to be realistic, realistic, but challenge yourself to make sure that whatever it is that you're tracking, whatever it is that you're doing, you certainly want to be able to do them because they're important for you. And you want to have that importance align with what your goals are, and your well-being, and also in your business goals.
Gotcha.
So that, think of it in those terms, if you don't mind me, saying that, or offering that to you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions or comments, or any ideas on this?
I just want to say, speaking to what Sharon just mentioned, I put the planner not to overtake your presentation, but for me, I'm still a old school paper and pen gal, and so I know that I would be more successful if this book that sits on the arm of my sofa is tangible more so than going into the computer every day, because it's easier for me to just open the book as opposed to going to the computer. But I like William's idea, and I may try and incorporate that. But for me, I know what works for me. And so that planner has everything that William mentioned, that's what's in that planner, your yearly, monthly, quarterly goals, and then you implement it on a weekly basis. And each week it has a habit tracker, just like William mentioned. It's just not, it doesn't automatically calculate like Williams, which is awesome. So I just wanted to add that.
No, definitely. Thanks, Monique, for adding that. I think that's important. You certainly want to find the tool that works for you. Like I said, technology is great. It really is. I love technology. However, you definitely want to be sure that the technology works for you, that you're not working for the technology that you're using. So you certainly want to keep that in mind. If it's way too much effort just to use it, you find what works for you in the end. That's the bottom line. And if your planner works, so be it. Make it work for you. The idea behind tracking what you're doing is really, number one, it's sort of like a self accountability. It's sort of to make sure that you're committed in doing what you set out to do. And sometimes it's also a harmonization tool where you can actually say, wow, I'm doing too much because my numbers are showing that I'm not hitting my goals. Am I overextending? Am I not being realistic in my goals? And again, that's one question you can ask. You could probably ask yourself another question in terms of priority. Is this an actual priority for me? Am I serious in I want to do this, but am I serious in doing it? And this is where your accountability buddy comes in, where your accountability person might say, hey, I noticed that you haven't been doing X, Y, Z. What's going on? And then you have a deeper conversation about that, a deeper and honest conversation about that. And there's nothing wrong with changing your goals. There's nothing wrong with that, because the idea behind goal setting is sometimes you want to create a small goal and then you want to create a win of that small goal. Because guess what happens when you win with a small goal? It feels good, right? Yeah, it feels really good. It's like eating chocolate. It feels good. You get that sudden rush of, oh man, I feel really good. But it's a small goal. So you've won. Guess what? You want to win again. So you create a second smaller goal. And then you win and you're like, oh, that feels good. Eventually your goals get a little bit bigger, a little bit larger, a little bit, scarier. But you love that winning feeling. It's a psychological way of just connecting that winning feeling, because you want to feel good about it, but sometimes you definitely want to keep growing from it. And that's the point. And that's why when you track your goals, it's like, hey, I'm on track. I'm doing really well. Where can I tweak this? Where can I do more? And then you push yourself a little bit. That's what we do in business, And at the same time, you want to be sure that in our well-being, we do the same thing. It's, hey, I walked a quarter mile today. Great. Maybe I can, maybe I can walk 2 more houses down. Because I busted my knee many times. And there were times when I had to go backwards and say, can I walk 100 feet today? That was sometimes my goal. Can I walk 100 steps today without, feeling pain? And sometimes I don't make it. Sometimes years ago, I was just like, because I broke my knee when I was a teenager. I mean, I broke my knee, and sometimes it acts up, and I'm like, yep, got to make that goal. Can I do 100 steps? I mean, sometimes it comes down to that, but that's the realistic part of it. And then you just push and push. So now, sometimes I'm walking 5 miles a day, 7 miles a day, and you just push and you push and you push. And then you track that and you're like, okay, that feels good. I got stronger. I got better. And you move forward. So that's the importance of aligning your goals with what your end result will be, and then creating those small wins in between so that it's a success story for you and it's not a burden. So hopefully I answered your question. So what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pauline. Well, before I go to Pauline, I just want to say next week, we have the second webinar series, and we'll be talking about business planning. This time, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to recap what we talked about in business planning, but I'm also going to share an actual tool that we use for creating our business plans. And it's going to be a real cool tool that I use with my clients. It's an online tool. And I'm going to show you a sample business plan of what that business plan looks like once you go through all those business planning steps and iterations from, ideation, like we talked about goal setting today. We're going to talk about some ideation. Then we're going to talk about converting that into an actual plan. And I'm going to show you the actual steps within that online tool that I use with my clients, as I mentioned, to take you from this is what it looks like. There's some financial stuff in there as well I want to show you, and the ease of using that tool in business planning, what it takes, what it looks like. So we're going to talk about some tools next week, like we talked about some tools today. So I definitely look forward to that. So again, share this information with your family and friends and other business partners. Let them know what's coming up, and yeah, just looking forward to having you guys here. I just want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for being interactive in this session. So I appreciate you very, very much. So I'm gonna turn over to Pauline. Thanks, Pauline.
Oh, no, thank you. This was really a fantastic session. So I'm going to launch the polling, and those of you who are used to being on the webinars will see this. So if you could answer those, that would be great. And again, thank you for joining us today and answering our poll questions. Eric, it's always wonderful to have you here. You're doing fantastic things with 1917. And we will see you next week. And now more than ever, we need to take care of ourselves and our businesses. So thank you. And this concludes our event.